Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into the fascinating world of the limbic system,
Ooh.
the brain's emotional command center.
Yeah.
We'll be using this physiology handout from Dr. Rasha Eldeeb to kind of unlock its secrets.
The limbic system, it's often described as a system, but it's not really a single structure.
Right.
It's more like a network.
Yeah.
Different areas all working together,
Okay.
each with its own specialty, but all collaborating to influence our emotions, our motivation, and even certain behaviors.
So what are the key players in this emotional network?
Well, you've got the limbic lobe,
Okay.
which is like a rim of cortical tissue,
Huh.
almost like a crown sitting atop the deeper parts of the brain.
Okay.
Then nestled beneath you have these incredibly important subcortical structures,
Right.
the hypothalamus, the hippocampus, and the amygdala.
Gotcha.
They're all interconnected, constantly buzzing with information.
Like a bustling city
Exactly.
with different departments all communicating to keep things running smooth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to note that there are very limited connections between the limbic system and the neocortex,
Okay.
which is the part of our brain responsible for higher level thinking and reasoning.
So does that mean our emotions can operate independently of our conscious thoughts?
To a certain extent, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Think about a time you reacted instinctively to something.
Right.
Maybe a sudden loud noise.
Oh, yeah.
That instantaneous fear response.
Mm-hmm.
That's the limbic system kicking in before your neocortex even has a chance to process what's happening.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like our emotions have a direct line to our actions, bypassing the logical part of our brains.
Yeah.
Speaking of direct lines, there's this concept of prolonged after discharge in the limbic system
Okay.
that I found fascinating.
Yes.
What is that?
This refers to the tendency of limbic circuits to fire for longer durations.
Mm.
It helps explain why emotional responses, both positive and negative,
Right.
can feel so lingering rather than just fleeting moments.
Wow.
It's like an echo that reverberates in our minds.
So it's not just in our heads, it's literally our brains holding on to those feelings. No wonder heartbreak can feel so persistent.
Exactly.
And what about this Papez circuit I came across in the handout?
The Papez circuit is a loop of interconnected structures within the limbic system that play a crucial role in processing emotions and memories.
Okay.
Imagine a relay race.
Okay.
It starts with the hippocampus, sending a signal to the hypothalamus,
Okay.
then to the thalamus, then to the cingulate gyrus,
Uh-huh.
and finally back to the hippocampus.
So it's a continuous loop connecting emotions and memories in a profound way.
Precisely. They influence and shape each other constantly. You know, historically, the limbic system had a very interesting nickname,
Oh, really?
the rheencephalon.
The rheencephalon.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
It essentially translates to smell brain,
Okay.
highlighting the incredibly close link between the limbic system and our sense of smell.
That's strange. Why would the part of the brain dealing with emotions be so intertwined with our sense of smell?
Well, smell is one of our most primitive senses,
Okay.
deeply rooted in our evolutionary history.
Right.
Think about it, smells have always been crucial for survival.
Yeah.
Detecting food, recognizing potential dangers, even identifying mates.
So over time, these survival mechanisms became intertwined with our emotional responses,
Right.
forming a direct link between smells and feelings.
Exactly. That's why a certain scent can instantly evoke a powerful memory or trigger a strong emotional reaction.
Yeah.
It bypasses all the higher level processing and goes straight to the emotional core.
It's like our sense of smell has a VIP pass to the limbic system.
I like that.
And speaking of powerful reactions, this handout goes into how the limbic system influences some of our most basic drives,
Okay.
food and sex.
Right. The hypothalamus, particularly a region called the amygdala, plays a big role in regulating these drives.
Mm.
For example, if you stimulate the amygdala in an animal,
Okay.
it can trigger behaviors like chewing and licking, as if it's searching for food.
So the amygdala is like the brain's foodie, always on the lookout for a tasty snack.
In a way, yes.
Okay.
But it's not just about recognizing food.
Right.
It's also about determining what's safe to eat.
Okay.
Damage to the amygdala can lead to something called hyperphagia,
Hyperphagia.
which is basically excessive eating.
Interesting.
Think of it like that feeling after an intense workout where you just can't seem to get enough food.
Okay.
It's like your brain's satiety signal is broken.
So the amygdala helps us differentiate between what's edible and what's not.
Absolutely.
I guess it's a good thing it's there to stop us from trying to eat things that aren't actually food.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when it comes to sex, the limbic system is equally influential.
So, while the physical act of sex might be governed by reflexes in the lower parts of the brain and spinal cord, the limbic system adds the emotional layer.
Yeah.
The desires, the motivations, the behavior surrounding mating, that's all the limbic system.
Precisely. But here's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
In humans, the neocortex, that part of the brain responsible for higher-level thinking,
Yeah.
exerts a significant influence on the limbic system when it comes to sex.
Wait, so our sexual behaviors aren't purely driven by instinct?
Not entirely, no.
You're saying they're shaped by learning psychological factors, social norms.
Exactly. We're not just reacting to biological cues. We're interpreting them through a complex lens of personal experiences, cultural influences, and conscious choices.
Okay.
It adds a whole other layer of complexity to the story.
It's like our brains are constantly weighing our primal urges against our societal expectations and personal values.
Right.
It's fascinating how those two forces interact.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, this next point really threw me for a loop. Damage to the amygdala in males can actually lead to hypersexuality and abnormal sexual behaviors.
It does seem counterintuitive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You'd think that damaging a part of the brain associated with emotions would perhaps decrease sexual behavior, but it highlights the complex and sometimes paradoxical nature of the brain.
It's like the amygdala is a gatekeeper keeping certain impulses in check, and when you remove that gatekeeper, things can get a little out of control.
Exactly. It's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
And remember, it's not just about sexual behavior.
Right.
The limbic system also plays a crucial role in maternal behaviors in females.
Okay.
Lesions in certain areas can actually disrupt maternal instincts, which shows just how deeply ingrained these behaviors are in our brain's emotional circuitry.
It's amazing to think how this complex network deep within our brains shapes so much of what we consider fundamental to the human experience. Love, fear, desire, even the bonds between a mother and child. It's like the conductor of our emotional orchestra.
Yeah, it really is remarkable. It really is remarkable how this one system orchestrates such a wide range of emotions and behaviors. And speaking of emotions, we can't forget about the more intense ones like fear and rage.
Ooh, those are big ones. I can definitely feel my limbic system firing up just thinking about them. So which part of this emotional network takes the lead when it comes to fear and rage?
Well, the hypothalamus and the amygdala are back in the spotlight here. Remember, the hypothalamus is like the brain's command center, regulating all sorts of essential functions. And the amygdala is highly involved in processing emotional responses, especially those related to fear and aggression.
Okay, so let's say something triggers a fear response. What's actually happening in the amygdala? Is it like a little alarm bell going off?
That's a great analogy. The amygdala receives sensory information from other parts of the brain and quickly evaluates whether it poses a threat. If it does, it triggers a cascade of physiological and behavioral responses designed to protect us. Our heart rate and breathing increase, our muscles tense up, and we might feel an urge to fight or flee.
So it's like our bodies are getting ready for action, primed to either confront the danger or get out of there as quickly as possible.
Exactly. It's a primal survival mechanism, and the amygdala is the key player in orchestrating that response.
Wow, it's amazing how quickly and efficiently our brains work to keep us safe. But what about those times when the fear response seems out of proportion to the actual threat? Like when someone's terrified of spiders even though they know it's not going to hurt them.
That's where things get really interesting. The amygdala doesn't always get it right. Sometimes it can trigger a fear response even when there's no real danger present. This can happen due to past experiences, learned associations, or even genetic predispositions.
So it's like our brains are sometimes playing tricks on us, making us afraid of things that aren't actually dangerous.
In a way, yes. And that's why understanding the limbic system is so important. It can help us make sense of seemingly irrational fears and develop strategies for managing them.
This is all making me think about those experiments where they remove the amygdala in animals. Does that create a completely fearless creature?
Not quite. The amygdala is part of a complex network, and removing it doesn't simply erase fear altogether. It can, however, lead to some very interesting behavioral changes.
Like what?
Well, one study removed the temporal lobes, which house the amygdala in monkeys. Instead of becoming completely fearless, these monkeys actually exhibited a strange set of behaviors. They became very calm and passive, they lost their fear of snakes, and they even started exploring objects by putting them in their mouths, almost as if they were tasting them.
Wow, so it's not just about fear, it's about how we interact with the world around us. It seems like the amygdala plays a role in recognizing potential dangers and helping us respond appropriately.
Exactly. Without a functioning amygdala, we might not be able to accurately assess threats or react in a way that ensures our safety.
It's like the amygdala is constantly scanning the environment, looking for anything that could be harmful and preparing us to take action.
Precisely. And it's not just about reacting to immediate threats. The amygdala also helps us learn from our experiences and avoid danger in the future. For example, if you touch a hot stove and burn yourself, the amygdala will form a strong association between that experience and the feeling of pain. The next time you see a hot stove, your amygdala will trigger a fear response, preventing you from making the same mistake twice.
It's like our brains are constantly updating our internal safety manual based on our experiences.
Exactly. And that's why understanding the limbic system is so crucial.
Hmm.
It helps us make sense of our emotional responses, both rational and irrational, and develop strategies for managing them.
So we've talked about basic drives like food and sex and powerful emotions like fear and rage. What other aspects of our lives does the limbic system influence?
Well, let's shift gears and talk about motivation. The limbic system isn't just about reacting to the world. It's also about driving us towards certain behaviors. It does this through a fascinating interplay of reward and punishment systems.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about these systems. How do they work?
Think of it this way. Your brain has a built-in system for seeking out pleasure and avoiding pain. The reward system centered around a pathway called the medial forebrain bundle is all about seeking out pleasure. When you experience something rewarding, whether it's eating a delicious meal, achieving a goal, or spending time with loved ones, this pathway lights up, with activity releasing a surge of dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter.
Ah, dopamine. That explains why those experiences feel so good.
Exactly. Dopamine creates a sense of satisfaction and motivates us to repeat those behaviors. It's like our brain's way of saying, yes, do that again.
So it's the driving force behind our desires and ambitions.
Precisely. It's what pushes us to learn to grow, to connect with others, and to achieve our goals.
But what about the punishment system? What role does it play?
The punishment system is all about avoiding negative experiences. It's centered around a different area of the hypothalamus, and it generates feelings of displeasure, fear, or even terror when we encounter something unpleasant or harmful.
So it's like a built-in warning system designed to keep us away from danger and things that make us feel bad.
It's a crucial survival mechanism, helping us learn from our mistakes and avoid repeating them.
This interplay between reward and punishment is so fascinating. It's like a constant push and pull, shaping our behavior and guiding our choices.
It really is. And it's important to remember that these systems can be influenced by a variety of factors, including genetics, environment, and even our own thoughts and beliefs.
So it's not just about our primal instincts, it's about how those instincts interact with our higher level cognitive processes. It's like a constant conversation between the emotional and rational parts of our brains.
Precisely. And that conversation is what makes us uniquely human.
This is all making me think about addiction. It seems like drugs like cocaine might somehow hijack the reward system.
You're exactly right. Drugs like cocaine flood the brain with dopamine, artificially triggering the reward system and creating a feeling of intense euphoria. But over time, this can lead to addiction as the brain becomes less sensitive to dopamine's natural rewards and more reliant on the drug to achieve that same level of pleasure.
It's like the drug becomes a shortcut to the reward system, bypassing all the natural ways we experience pleasure.
Exactly. And that's why addiction is such a complex and challenging issue. It's not just about willpower, it's about fundamental changes in the brain's reward circuitry.
This makes me think about tranquilizers. How do they work in the brain?
Tranquilizers are interesting because they don't just target the reward system, they also affect the punishment system. They essentially dampen down the intensity of both positive and negative emotions, creating a sense of emotional calmness.
So it's like they're taking the edge off both the highs and the lows, creating a sense of emotional stability.
Exactly. And that's why they can be effective in treating conditions like anxiety and psychosis, where emotional dysregulation can be a significant issue.
This is all so fascinating. It really makes you appreciate the intricate workings of the brain and its impact on our behavior.
And we're not done yet. The limbic system doesn't just govern our emotions and motivations, it also influences our bodies in profound ways.
Hold on, are you saying that our emotions can actually have a physical impact? I mean, I know we talk about things like butterflies in your stomach or a racing heart when we're feeling nervous, but are those just metaphors, or is there a real connection between our emotions and our bodies?
Those aren't just metaphors. They're very real physical manifestations of our emotional state. Remember all those connections between the hypothalamus and other parts of the limbic system? Well, those connections extend beyond the brain reaching out to control autonomic functions like blood pressure, respiration, and hormone release.
So when we experience intense emotions, whether it's fear, excitement, or even love, our bodies respond in a very real and measurable way.
Precisely. Your heart might start racing. Your breathing might quicken your palms, might sweat, your pupils might dilate. These are all physical responses orchestrated by the limbic system, preparing your body to either fight or flee from a perceived threat or to engage with a positive experience.
It's like our emotions are sending signals throughout our bodies, creating a cascade of physiological changes that reflect what we're feeling.
Exactly. And this mind-body connection is a two-way street. Our physical state can also influence our emotions. For example, if you're feeling physically tired or run down, you might be more prone to feeling irritable or stressed.
This is a powerful reminder that our mental and physical well-being are deeply intertwined. We can't neglect one without impacting the other.
Absolutely. Taking care of both our mental and physical health is essential for overall well-being.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. Emotions, motivations, even the mind-body connection. But there's one more crucial function of the limbic system that we need to explore, its role in memory.
Ah, yes. Memory, the foundation of our experiences and who we are. The limbic system plays a vital role in this essential process, particularly the hippocampus. Remember that relay race we talked about earlier, the Papez circuit? Well, the hippocampus is the starting point, and it's crucial for consolidating memories, transforming those short-term experiences into long-term storage.
So it's like the hippocampus is the brain's librarian, carefully cataloging our experiences and storing them away for future retrieval.
That's a great way to think about it. Without a functioning hippocampus, we would struggle to form lasting memories and learn from our experiences.
That makes me think about those cases where people suffer damage to the hippocampus. What happens to their memory?
Well, damage to the hippocampus, particularly bilateral lesions, meaning damage to both sides, can lead to a profound inability to retain new memories. It's a devastating condition that highlights just how critical this structure is to our ability to learn and remember.
It's amazing to think how this one tiny structure plays such a huge role in shaping who we are and how we interact with the world. It's like the archive of our lives, storing all those precious memories and experiences that make us unique.
It truly is remarkable. And it's not just about storing information. The hippocampus also plays a role in connecting past experiences to present situations, helping us make informed decisions.
So it's like our brains are constantly comparing the present to the past, using our memories to guide our actions and navigate the world more effectively.
Exactly. It's like having an internal reference library, constantly cross-referencing our current experiences with everything we've learned and experienced before.
This is all so incredible. I'm starting to see the limbic system as this incredibly complex and powerful network, shaping our emotions, our motivations, our memories, even our physical responses. It's like the conductor of our inner world, orchestrating the symphony of our lives. It's mind-blowing to think that all of this is happening within this intricate network deep inside our brains. The limbic system really is the unsung hero of the human experience.
It really is. And even though it's often overshadowed by the neocortex, the part of the brain we associate with higher level thinking, the limbic system is fundamental to who we are.
I'm still reeling from that fact about the amygdala and how stimulating it can trigger such intense emotions like fear and rage. I mean, it's like a direct line to our primal instincts, isn't it?
It is. And the fact that damage to the amygdala can have such adverse effects from hypersexuality to the inability to recognize fear in others speaks to just how complex and multifaceted the system is.
Yeah, it's like the amygdala is this powerful control panel for our emotional responses, and even slight changes can have a ripple effect throughout our entire system.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And let's not forget the hippocampus and its crucial role in memory. I mean, the idea that bilateral lesions can completely disrupt the ability to form new memories is both fascinating and a little terrifying, don't you think?
It really is. It makes you realize how fragile our memories are and how much we rely on this one structure to retain information, learn from our experiences, and build a sense of self over time.
It's like the hippocampus is weaving together the tapestry of our lives, connecting our past to our present and shaping who we become.
And what about that connection between the limbic system and our autonomic functions?
Uh-huh.
It really drives home the point that our emotions aren't just mental states. They have a real tangible impact on our physical bodies.
Absolutely. Our heart rate, our breathing, our digestion, even our immune system, they're all influenced by the signals coming from the limbic system. It's mind-body connection in action.
It's a powerful reminder that taking care of our emotional well-being is just as important as taking care of our physical health.
Couldn't agree more. Ignoring our emotional needs can have real consequences for our overall well-being.
This deep dive has been an incredible journey. It's giving me a whole new appreciation for the complexity and power of the human brain, and specifically this remarkable system that plays such a pivotal role in shaping our lives.
I'm glad to hear that. And remember, we've only just scratched the surface. There's still so much we don't know about the limbic system and its interactions with other parts of the brain. But what we do know is that it's fundamental to our emotional experiences, our motivations, our memories, and even our physical well-being.
As we wrap up our exploration, I'm left with this lingering question. If we could consciously manipulate our limbic systems, what would the implications be? Could we control our emotions more effectively, enhance our memories, or even eliminate negative behaviors?
Those are fascinating questions and ones that neuroscientists are actively exploring. As our understanding of the brain deepens, we're opening up new possibilities for treating conditions like anxiety, depression, and addiction.
It's a future filled with both promise and potential ethical challenges.
It certainly is. And as we continue to unravel the mysteries of the brain, it's crucial that we proceed with both curiosity and caution, always keeping in mind the ethical implications of our discoveries.
Well, I think it's safe to say that our journey into the brain is just beginning, and the limbic system will undoubtedly continue to be a source of fascination and discovery for years to come. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.